Hello and welcome to another edition of 21 Minutes with KKB. Now, my guest today is a gentleman who was vice chairman, was the second vice chairman for his party, but for some reason he couldn't really see out his mandate. There's been a lot of issues as far as that particular thing is concerned. They've been in court, they've been out of court, they've been in courts back in. Quite a number of things have happened within that period, but he's out now. And well, their mandates have expired. He's saying he's seeking a particular portfolio higher than actually what he even held prior to his suspension in that party. Well, we'll be speaking to him after this break, and indeed we'll be getting some more information on that particular decision of his and several other things that have been on the table since then. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Sammy Crabbe was suspended by the new Patriotic Party. Well, he says he still doesn't understand why he was suspended, and he has reason to believe the people down there, several people, scores of people at the grassroots level still need him. So he's seeking a much bigger mandate. Mr. Crabbe, thank you for joining us.
Thank you too for having me.
It's good to see you.
So always good to see you
yes,
too.
Yes. You're now seeking a bigger mandate. Of course, that's the topical thing I want us to focus mainly on in this very interview. Of course, maybe we can touch a bit on some of the things that have happened. What led to your suspension and the like. But what, you want to be chairman of your party?
Yes, I want to be.
The same party that doesn't want you even as second vice chair?
No, it wasn't the party that made that decision, and that's what I have been talking about all of the time. Okay. You know, we have a constitution, and the constitution basically defines what a meeting is. A National Executive Committee meeting we call NEC, a National Council meeting that we call NC, normally people for short. And you can't just call people together, a bunch of people together, and have somebody who is not being cloaked with the authority to convene a meeting and call it a meeting. And that was the point I was trying to put across. For example, you have your organization, and I'm sure you have management meetings, and I'm sure as per your guidelines and your rule book, there are specific people who can call those meetings. So if those people are around and somebody usurps the authority and calls it, then it's legally not the meeting. So
what if whoever is supposed to call the meeting is complicit in the issue? Who else has to call the meeting?
No, so the beauty about democracy is that we have a rule book called the Constitution. So the Constitution says that very clearly, that it is this man who has to call the meeting. If you think that it is not sufficient, you call an amendment conference and amend it. The Constitution is very clear who convenes the meeting. In the person's absence, some other person may, but when the person is available, that person has to. You don't leave it to the discretion of somebody else. We all went and we approved the Constitution. One man cannot just get up, or a woman or a bunch of people get up and insist that it's going to be their way. That is a subversion of the rule of law. And that is what I went up against. For example, in that particular instance, they said they had something against the then chairman, because yesterday everybody's term expired. Yeah. The then chairman, Mr. Porafoko. And therefore the disciplinary committee, an inferior body, not clothed with the authority, writes to the first vice chairman of the party suggesting that he convene a meeting. It contravenes our constitution. And I have been in this party for a very long time. You know, when I was Greater Accra Regional Chairman, there was an issue about the then chairman, Mr. Harun Eseku. And there's some kickback issue all over the place. So they went to Sanaa Lodge and to talk about the issue. You know, people were saying suspending, whatever it is they wanted to do. But I'm just going to talk about the procedure that I saw democracy in MPP in action.
That's during Kufuor's era.
During Kufuor's era. Yeah. So Mr. Harun Eseku convened the meeting. He gave his opening remarks and said, well, there is an agenda on the table talking about what he has been accused of saying. Therefore, he is recusing himself at this time because he has convened the meeting, so it's legal. Yes. He's recusing himself. So he did recuse himself. And then Mr. Stephen Tim, who was then the first vice chairman, took over the chair. And Aaron Ponsan read the constitution to start the process, and that was democracy in action. I didn't read about it. I was right there, and I saw it. So if even you think that the then chairman, Mr. Polafuku, will not convene, it's none of your business. He didn't write the constitution. So you get him to convene. So if anybody else convenes, then in my view, that meeting was not a NEC meeting. So it was not the party that made that decision. It was a bunch of people who think so highly on themselves because they think they own this party and they can do whatever it is they want. People who, in my view, do not even respect the voice of the people. When people have gathered, over 5,000 something, made a decision that they want certain people to run their business for them, I think they have no business trying to overthrow those people.
Haruna Iseku is still alive. He's still with, I think he's with the Council of Elders now, I believe. There are several others. The ruling team is still around. How come we haven't had any of these people come out to back you or say anything that, you know what, this thing that has been happening is a wrong thing. We need the right things to be done. That's if you are.
You may have to ask them. I will speak for myself. This is not the first time I have been doing such a thing. I have given many examples. There was a time when I was regional chairman that certain personalities always went around trying to remove elected officers. And I can give you two examples that come to mind. In Ablekuma South, for example, the late Teresa Tego, she had a habit of removing people who were always elected. When I was chairman, I stood up against that. It brought a whole lot of problems to police stations, fights, and I made sure that she wouldn't be able to do that and get away with that on my watch. I remember that same Teresa Tego, when John Boydu, the organizer, was the secretary at Ablekuma South. She went and removed the whole executives. That was how people were just misbehaving. I remember Tema East at the time. That time, Honorable Ashite, the now regional minister, he was an MP there. One day we were just having a meeting and we saw him swearing in a new set of executives on TV3. He had removed the duly elected officers. I didn't agree to that. I fought to protect them. So it is not about Foko, it's not about Kwabena Japan. It is about democracy within the new Patriotic Party, which, if not contained, can spill into the national domain. It's a very dangerous thing. And it is not the first time I have done such a thing. And I will always stand against that. And I shall do it again. Because even those who did it and seem to have gotten away with it know that it was wrong.
Who did this? Who masterminded this?
I think there is a cabal. There's a group of people. When they say a cabal is always you don't have to have personalities in it necessarily, but basically, when I say cabal, the definition, classic definition of me means that they're a group of people with a certain mindset. Sometimes they recruit, sometimes they go off, sometimes they repent, but then you always have a certain group of people who feel that they own the system, they can do whatever they want. They feel that they can instill fear in people. And they've always been around. But what is important is that every time you have these extremists coming in to overthrow, the order, we've always had people to stand up and fight against that.
Is Akufo-Addo the leader of this cabal?
No, I don't want to mention names. I don't want to, because as far as I'm concerned, Akufo-Addo said he knew nothing about what was going on. So I think that speaks for itself. Unless, of course, you have information that suggests otherwise.
I'm just asking.
If you have information that suggests that Akufo-Addo is lying, that he knew nothing about what was going on, then there's no way he can even be a candidate for leadership or anything of the cabal. But I'm saying that in all my life in NPP, I've had to face such people. They come in different forms and shapes, but there's one mentality: to make sure that they control. And they believe that control means to subject people. And I don't believe that. I believe that control means to liberate people. When you liberate people and you harness their individuality, you will get the best. It's development in freedom. That is what gives power to leadership.
So are you saying now that there are people in the NPP who are unable to speak as freely as they probably would have, because they feel threatened in any way, or they are scared?
Yes, there are many people who feel scared.
Elements in the party that kept insisting, say, well, and that you are against Nana, someone else is for Nana, this person is for Kufu, and the like. So that's how it all started.
That is how they're able to reduce certain complex and important arguments,
What were the arguments at the time? I do remember that one of the issues I think Mr. Foko had raised some time back, several years back, was the fact that there seemed to be some parallel system running even in the party, even though himself, Kwabena Japan, yourself, and several others were running things. It appeared people were holding meetings they were not supposed to be holding, people were doing things. So it was like there were parallels happening in the party.
But I mean, there'll always be caucuses in every political party. So me, I don't have a problem with parallel caucuses or whatever it is. They're always going to be. Even factions, I don't have a problem. It becomes dangerous when it goes around personalities. We have a philosophy. It's at the center. You have people who will be to the right of it, the center of it, and to the left of it. It's good for the debate. It grows and enhances. But when everything is reduced to a personality, everything becomes a personality court, then I'm out of there. I don't get myself involved in that. It doesn't make sense. I want to disagree with you, and then tomorrow come and agree with you because it's an issue. We all are, we should be able to work. But when it's about personalities, I don't buy that. I don't want to worship anybody. Why would I want to worship anybody? I mean, I won't do that. I shall not do that. And it is a very dangerous thing. It's even counter to my religion. I would not want to worship anybody.
Is that why you are calling a number of people in your party sycophants? Because they are loyal to the president?
No. A sycophant is somebody who is just a yay-sayer. I mean, the word may sound blah, 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 blah. It's a yay-sayer. And I'm saying I'm not a yay-sayer. If I think that you said something that I don't agree with, I think you should feel comfortable with me. If you don't, then I think you have a problem. You shouldn't have a problem at all. Because you see, in my work, in my companies, I actually pay people to critique me. That's what you do if you want to grow. So if you have a little issue with somebody and the person comes from another angle, all of a sudden you draw swords and then you're angry, you start tagging the guy, ambush the guy and kill the guy, then there's a problem with you.
You keep referring to some people. Who are these people?
They change every day. In all my political life, I've seen different people come and play those roles, but they all group around something. They are dictatorial in nature. They can't stand debate. They can't stand dissent. Democracy is repulsive to them. But they found themselves in a vehicle that from the outside is seen to be democratic. And then they can perpetrate whatever. The actors come in and go out. I have stood and fought for certain people who have now flourished, and they themselves are showing those traits of intolerance. When Kwabena Japan, for example, and our folk were trying to regulate the invisible forces, it was part of the charges that they threw at them. What did we see? The judge who was chased, the officer who was beaten, those journalists who were beaten up. Did they ever think that what Kwabena Japan was doing, if he had succeeded, if they had stood firm and shined their eyes, would have probably saved them? Because what he was trying to do was to manage a group of people.
So you're saying that a lot of the recklessness we see now is as a result of that particular thing that happened? What
I am saying is, Kwabena Japan and Afoko met a group of people who had been brought together to provide security for the party.
The invisible forces?
Yes. And they thought that they needed to have a command and control set up. So you know what they do, where they go, how the things they do happen. So it was not good for certain people outside of the officer to be controlling those people. It becomes a private army.
Who was controlling them?
No, there were people all over who were finding them and deciding that they should do when to.
Because there are reports that some of these people used to protect your flag bearer at the time.
As I said from the beginning, these are people within the party who provide security. So they were providing security for officers of the party.
So they used to
and then wherever we went.
So they used to provide security.
So they were there. Of course, and Baumia and everybody, even the party office and other places. So these were people who were not unknown to us. But there was a development where certain individuals, many individuals, were influencing them in ways. And then we also needed to have some discipline. Okay, so the then General Secretary, National Chairman, were trying to provide that discipline. Then some people went to them to say that, hey, that same thing, reducing very complex things to a one-liner, like Donald Trump, lazy this thing, crooked Hillary. You just tag it, and then everybody shuts up, and then they just go in, and then they lynch. That same thing was done. They branded the whole thing, told the people that they want to take your position for all kinds of nonsense. Pardon my French. And what happened? So, Kwabena Japan, Afoko out. No structure, no control. And then we come into the national arena. And they started playing out what we wanted to prevent. Now let me remind you, Boko Haram, they didn't just fall from the skies. There were political operatives in Nigeria just like invisible forces. And they fell out with the establishment. Somebody gave them religion and put some money in them. And this is what we have. So what I see, and when I...
In Ghana?
Why can't it happen?
The invisible forces?
I am saying that if we allow people, sometimes I get baffled when people who are supposed to be learned and things can't see, or maybe they get involved because they think that they can manipulate the situations to their personal benefit. But what they are forgetting is that these things can grow. And when they grow, they get out of hand. When they get out of hand, it will affect each and every one of us. One of the reasons why those Boko Haram operatives are able to operate with impunity is because they have things on the politicians. They've been used for certain terrible things.
So there may come a time we may have a Boko Haram in Ghana.
Oh, but it's very possible. Well, basically, if you don't stop it, if we don't shine a light on those things and stop.
The invisible forces?
I am saying that.
Bolga bulldogs?
Yeah, all of them. Everybody, everywhere. All of those things. All I'm trying to say is Boko Haram, the members of Boko Haram, once upon a time, were political operatives. And you can check it. So, don't think that these political operative security can also not turn into a Boko Haram.
It be a stronger party now, a weaker party following all these developments?
It can't be a stronger party. Was it not Abraham Lincoln who said that you cannot build by tearing down? There's absolutely no way you can make something bigger when you start picking other thing and bringing it down.
But it appears the party seems united, looks united on the outside.
And it's peaceful.
Yes.
There's a saying.
You don't have people holding machetes.
Yeah, there's a saying that peace without a voice is fear.
Is that what's happening now?
Yes. Peace without a voice is fear. And Kennedy said, Americans have nothing to fear but fear itself. Fear can petrify people. It can immobilize people. It can stifle creativity. You watch. It's only a matter of time.
Who are they scared of?
It's only a matter of time. And I have said that before. Even our government can be immobilized, okay? That's because you have a group of people who have gone to take offices as sycophants, in a sense that they are naysayers, cannot critique anything because they are afraid, cannot initiate anything. And so what we are known for, our brand of coming out and creating, is going to suffer.
In fact, won't say Michael Kweno Wonkasa. You don't have a problem with the fact that he...
No. Why? I don't hang out with him. He's not my friend. If he doesn't want to be my friend, I care very little about that. But I care if he will not want to work with me, because that's why we're all put there.
Speaker of Parliament.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't talk to me, what has it got to do with me?
Doesn't talk to you anymore, man.
I don't think we have a good relationship. That goes all the way back to Adwoa Safo. When Adwoa Safo wanted to contest him, and he said no, and I said no. Adwoa Safo is only 26 years of age, and she's a lawyer, she's up and coming, and we cannot stop people from growing in the party. We have to open the way. Same with Archibald and Ajesowa and all of those guys. As I fought for them.
Funds?
I think I would not want to tag and put names to those things. But if he is petty enough to think that what I did several years ago, which right now, Adwoa Safo is, for example, Adwoa Safo is a deputy majority leader and a minister.
Yes.
If what I did that ultimately produced or got a girl to become this is wrong, I still think so, and he has to work with them in parliament, then he has a problem. I think that's a big problem, because me, I'm rolling on that what is happening in the party will not weaken the party to the point that we will not be able to galvanize people around our flag bearer, who, will have at a time is likely to be the president, because we don't have an occasion where we've changed mainstream before. We'll galvanize behind him and then let Ghanaians understand. Let them what we have delivered and explain to them what we're going to do going on. I believe that if we do that very well with a party that doesn't have people who are, angry, think that they haven't got anything, nobody looks at them, the ministers look down upon them.
Wait, are you speaking in reference to the Deputy General Secretary of the NPP, Honorable Ibrahim, or comments he's alleged to have made?
Well, basically, I don't know. These days when people speak, they say, and they are recorded, it's not their voice. But I haven't heard that he has said it's not his voice. And frankly speaking, if you want my opinion, candid opinion about what happened, I don't see why he should be running away from what he said. Seriously speaking, I do not see why he should. Because what he said is not something that people are not saying. Minus the claims of 5 million or whatever, which I don't know. I don't know how you got it, and so I don't want to talk about that. But generally speaking, I sit in this house. People come here all the time. They talk about they not being minded, they not getting jobs, they being left out. People come for school fees. People come to be fed. All of those things are happening. People point to people who are riding cars and they have nothing. So what he said to me is nothing that people are not saying. And he said it in private. I know that people will say that Obri Bwahin was out there, drumming, Sammy Crabbe or Fuku and that kind of thing. But what we are talking about right now, in my view, has nothing to do with Obri Bwahin person. It just happens that there's an issue and he is the one who did it. And I'm saying that if you say something in private, complain that you are not getting something in private, and somebody abuses the trust, records and places it in public, you did not say it in public. Do you know how many people come to me and say terrible, terrible things? If I were to record and put in, I've just abused the trust. But if I were him, I would own it. But I think because of the way he acted towards us, people are not separating the two. What has he said that people are not saying every day? It's just that those people have not been recorded and put out there. And if you mean what you said, own it.
Is he a hypocrite?
In that sense, I would say yes. You should own what you say. Take a census. Take a census. Go to constituencies, take a census, and ask people if they will not say the same thing.
Were these not the same things we heard about the NDC a few years back?
That's the danger. Because these things keep creeping in. And it happens because we as a party or parties in Ghana don't really create systems that will be able to actually improve government-party relations once we win power. So everything gets dammed at the top. Nothing really trickles down. The people feel left out, unattended too. And it gets worse. Because the more you are not able to deliver, it gets to a point, it becomes more difficult to face people. And then the people get isolated. And at the end of the day, it will end up in you losing an election. And then you go promising them again. It's only a matter of time. You can fool them today, tomorrow. It will get to a point you will not have anybody who matters coming up, stepping up, and working for you.
Sammy, thank you. Wish you all the best. And maybe you should run for presidency one of these days in the next 10 years, 8 years.
If my life will allow, if my wife will allow, even this I'm doing crap, no, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. It's not a joke.
Right, I can imagine. But
hey,
thank
she
you.
won't allow.
Thank you for your time. Sammy Crabbe was former second vice chairman of the new Patriotic Party. Well, their mandates have expired now. He's saying that he's seeking the delegates' mandate once more. This time around, he wants to be national chairman of the party. He hopes to right the wrongs of the past, and hopefully he can win power for the NPP in 2020 as well. My name is Kobna Chenchen Boati. Many thanks for staying with us in this edition as well on 21 Minutes with KKB. I'll see you soon, hopefully, with another guest you are expecting.